Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're picking back up with our studio etiquette series. This time I want to talk to you about what to do if you're unhappy with a piercing that you got done. It is not the situation anyone wants. It is basically every piercer's least favorite situation, and probably every client's least favorite situation too. You get up and look in the mirror, or you get home and you're looking at your piercings and you're just not happy with how something is sitting. Maybe something looks crooked, something doesn't look right, maybe something doesn't feel right. Maybe everything looks and feels right, but it's just not what you were expecting when you got it done. There's something you're unhappy with. How do you as a client navigate this situation? How do we handle this? Well, first, I'd like to preface with the fact that piercers are only human. We make mistakes sometimes. Not every piercing we do is going to turn out completely perfect. I mean, doctors make mistakes, mechanics make mistakes, lawyers make mistakes, teachers make mistakes. Every human being, every profession, mistakes are going to happen. Now, I say this all the time, the hallmark of a great piercer is not that they never make mistakes, because that's not realistic. It's how they handle a mistake when they make it. So a crappy piercer is going to go, oh no, I didn't make a mistake. You moved when I pierced you. It just has to be that way because of your anatomy. They're going to make excuses. They're going to gaslight you. They're going to try and convince you that they didn't do anything wrong and your piercing is fine. An average piercer will probably catch that they made a mistake, but they're not probably going to have the nerve to tell a client that they made a mistake. They're just going to kind of hope the client doesn't notice or doesn't say anything. They're going to think about the fact that they made a mistake and feel bad, but they're not going to do a whole bunch to learn from it and grow from it. And then a truly great piercer notices mistakes when they make them, says clearly, hey, I'm not happy with how this came out, I'd like to correct it. Hey, I'd like you to take a look in the mirror and see if you're satisfied with this because there's something I want to change. Or if somehow they miss a mistake and they let it leave their studio, if the client gets back in touch with them and goes, hey, I'm not sure if this is right, something's sitting wrong, they go, oh my God, I'm so sorry, come on in, let's see what's going on. Let's see if we can fix it. Because that's the thing. Mistakes, as non-ideal as they are when it comes to piercings, are still very fixable. We can always redo it. I know no one wants to have their piercing redone. We as piercers don't want to have to redo piercings, but it does happen sometimes. And in the grand scheme of mistakes that different professions can make, I would way rather redo like a nostril piercing that came out crooked or an uneven set of earlobes than when a doctor makes a mistake during surgery or something like that. That being said, the biggest thing with studio etiquette is giving your piercer the opportunity to correct those mistakes. An unfortunate thing that I see happen all the time is clients will see like a genuinely good piercer who does really care, and something will happen, something will go wrong. That piercer will make a mistake, or maybe the piercing just wasn't what they expected. But instead of going back to that good piercer and giving them the opportunity to remedy that mistake, the client immediately goes to someone else, says, oh, this person ruined my piercing, this person messed me up. And I don't want to discount that sometimes piercers definitely make a lot of mistakes, aren't good piercers, do bad work. But if you have a really good piercer and something goes wrong or you're not happy with something, please reach back out to them. Give us the opportunity to correct the mistake we made. Give us the opportunity to fix things and make things right. Most piercers are acutely aware of the fact that we are only human, that we are going to make mistakes, and we want to make things right. We cherish when you give us the opportunity to correct those things and learn to do better and be better and grow better. I will be the first to own up to the fact that I make mistakes as a piercer. I literally had to redo a philtrum piercing this week. It happens. But again, you gotta give the piercer the opportunity to correct it. And that means reaching back out to us instead of just going somewhere else if you still feel comfortable. Obviously as a client, if you had an experience as a piercer where you don't feel comfortable going back to them or you don't want to have them redo something, that is beyond completely valid, and you should seek out a practitioner who you feel comfortable with correcting and redoing it. Totally okay if you don't want to go back to the person who made the mistake. But a lot of piercers, especially good piercers, really would like to be given that opportunity. But it also means you have to let us know. Now, Really good piercers are going to catch most of our mistakes before they leave and correct something and do something about it. But there's always going to be tiny little things that slip through the cracks, and if you get home and you notice you're not happy with something or something isn't sitting the way you expected, don't just ignore it. Don't just leave it. Reach back out to your piercer. We care. We want to help. Send us a message. Say, hey, here's how this is looking. I'm not sure if I'm happy with this. I'm not sure if this is looking the way it's supposed to. What can I do about it? How can I fix it? Is there something we can do? And a good piercer is going to say, oh my God, yes, come back into the studio. Let me fix this for you. Let me make this right. Sometimes folks are unhappy with a piercing they got, and it's not that a mistake was made. I most famously, when I think about this, think of a client that I had in Florida who is so sweet and so wonderful and became a friend through this experience. But he had two very asymmetric ears. He had one totally attached earlobe on one side and one unattached earlobe on the other side. And when we went to pierce his earlobes, we had a long conversation about the fact that there was some big asymmetry that we had to work with. We spent a ton of time marking, like close to a half hour marking, measuring, tweaking placements, making sure we were 100% happy with where they were going to be. We pierced them, he looked in the mirror, he was so stoked, he left and went home, and the very next day he came back in and he was like, actually, I don't like how these sit with my ears, I want to try a different placement. Not a big deal. I still felt like the piercings technically were perfect, but visually they weren't perfect for the client. They weren't where he liked them, so we redid them. And then a week and a half later, he came back in and said, hey, I'm so sorry, but I'm still not happy with this placement because my ears are so different. Can we please try something else? And so I said, of course, yes, it's your body. You have to look at this in the mirror every day. I want you to be happy with your piercings and love your piercings. As long as you don't mind getting poked another time, I will redo these for you until you are 100% happy. And we went through the whole song and dance again, we remarked everything, and finally after that third try, we got a placement that he was really happy with and felt good about in the mirror. But it did take more than one shot. And it wasn't that a mistake happened, it wasn't that the piercings turned out crooked, it wasn't even that my marks were off. We were working with some really difficult anatomy, and the vision that he had in his brain for how he wanted the piercings to look was not aligning with how they were looking in reality in his ears, and we had to make some adjustments. He had to compromise a little bit of his vision because he had this asymmetric anatomy, but also it took doing the piercings and having the jewelry in and living with them for a few days to really tell him what about where they were he wasn't happy with and what he wanted to tweak and change with that placement to feel 100% confident in his piercings. And you know, like I said, piercers are humans, we are going to make mistakes, but also clients are going to have all sorts of different experiences and perspectives about their own piercings. And at the end of the day, it's the client who's wearing the piercing that is the most important element in this equation. And it is so important that clients are happy with their piercings. So even if you have a technically correct, well-done piercing, but it's not sitting the way you want, you're not happy with where it is, you should also reach back out to your piercer and give us the opportunity to correct things for you and give us the opportunity to work with you and get you a piercing placement that you're happier with. I feel really strongly about this because I tell this to all my clients. I had my left high nostril re-pierced 3 times when I got it done because I was not happy with how it sat the first 2 times. I have a pretty deviated septum, I have a pretty crooked nose. It's really tricky anatomy to work with, and it was technically well done and placed well the first time. I just didn't like how it looked on my nose, and I knew it was going to drive me up a wall looking at it in the mirror every day like that. So I had my old boss move it. And then I had to move it again because I'm really picky. And that's, again, the benefit of piercings is that we can move them, we can change their placement, we can adjust them, especially if we catch it really early on. But we can only do that if clients reach back out to us. So if you have a piercing that you're unhappy with, if you have an experience that you're unhappy with, whether something feels actually wrong with the piercing, like a mistake has happened, or you're just not happy with the outcome, please reach back out to your piercer and give us the opportunity to correct it. Now the final thing that I want to touch on in this video is mistakes do happen, and they are normal. No piercer out there in the world who's like, I messed up on this piercing, sick, that's fine. No, it keeps us up at night. We obsess over it. It eats our soul up. We feel so guilty about this. but they are going to happen. It is part of just being a human. Mistakes happen in every field. And I understand that as a client, it can be very traumatizing to have a piercing that's done incorrectly or wrong or having a painful experience. I very much get it. But I ask that if you are unhappy with the piercing you've experienced, to please reach back out to your piercer with just like a little bit of grace and compassion for the fact that mistakes happen. And I'd like to clarify that I'm in no way saying that if a really bad piercer does a terrible job on you, is a crappy piercer, makes you feel unsafe, that you need to treat that person with like the utmost respect and care when you reach back out. That is not what I am saying. But I'm saying that if you have a good piercer who really cares, who really means well, who wants to do well and do right by you, where it is just a genuine mistake that happens sometimes when we're working on people's bodies, that you please be polite when you contact someone about it. I've spoken a lot about abuse from clients that has happened and been on the rise since COVID started in the industry, and this is definitely an area where I see a lot of colleagues of mine experiencing this. I've had experiences like this. I had a client, there was a miscommunication. They wanted a piece anodized and anodize it before we pierced them and put it in. It was a genuine mistake. I fell through the cracks. That was on me for forgetting to anodize the piece. And the client reached back out and was like, I wanted this anodized, it's not anodized, what the heck? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, come back in at your soonest convenience. We'll get it anodized for you, absolutely no charge. That is on us. I'm so sorry that happened. I will refund you the piercing fee because I made a mistake. Like, completely my bad. I'm sorry. And the client came in and screamed at our front of house, calling them names, calling them slurs, yelling about how terrible this was and how they couldn't believe this had happened. And I get it. It's upsetting when something goes wrong. It's upsetting when you don't get what you expected or what you paid for. And it is okay to feel upset and feel angry about that. But if a studio is doing everything they physically can to remedy the mistake, is trying to help you out, I at least ask that you treat front of house and piercers with a modicum of respect and human decency. And if you're not capable of doing that, just don't go back to the studio, because mistakes do happen and no one deserves to be verbally abused, threatened, berated, or cursed at over something that is just a genuine mistake. And again, I in no way say this to invalidate clients' feelings, but part of what inspired me to make this video was an experience a colleague of mine had in the industry where an honest mistake happened on a piercing. They offered to correct it, they didn't charge the client, they did everything they could, and that person ended up harassing them for weeks. They were so upset that the piercing had not turned out quite perfect. I'm talking like throwing bricks at the window of their studio, and like trying to follow them home at night, harassing them. And it's just not okay. It's just not okay. Mistakes happen. Piercers are only human. Please give us the opportunity to fix those mistakes, but it's not that it's never going to happen. It's just kind of a fact of life that mistakes are going to happen. But truly, while I wanted to touch on that slightly heavier part of this situation, really my goal in making this video was to explain to clients how good piercers will deal with handling a mistake, that they're going to fix it, that they're going to take care of you, that they're going to own their mistake, but also kind of try and normalize the fact that mistakes are going to happen, because I think a lot of times we have this concept that a really good piercer is just going to be perfect and a piercing is never going to turn out crooked or never going to not sit right or never going to have any issues, and that's just not the case. It's just not the case. Everyone is going to make mistakes sometimes, from the absolute best piercers who've been doing this for 20, 30 years to the brand new apprentice who is still learning. The only difference is how many mistakes they're going to make, how often, and how they're going to handle it when they do. So please, from the bottom of my heart, as a piercer who really loves and cares about this job and truly, truly feels so bad anytime something like this happens, we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to correct our mistakes. We really just want to be given the opportunity to make it right for you, and we just ask that in return you treat us with a little bit of human decency. I'm really enjoying this studio etiquette series, and I find myself wanting to delve more into deeper topics, kind of like this one, where we're talking about things like making mistakes and stuff going wrong in the studio and how we can handle it from both sides. And if you have any suggestions for topics like that you'd like to see me cover, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I can't wait to see your feedback from this video. I hope everyone likes it. Thanks for sitting down and chatting and letting me broach a kind of difficult, kind of stressful topic when it comes to studio etiquette. I can't wait to sit down and chat again soon, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your night. Bye!